What's up, my friends, and welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. As always, we are broadcasting live from the Xfinity Lounge here at the PHLY studios, and we were brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, and I brought a friend with me today. It's not just me today. You don't have to listen to me ramble for an hour. I brought a friend with us. You know him from the PHLY daily newsletter, which is an excellent newsletter. You've seen him on the PHLY Eagles, the PHLY Sixers. He is our ultimate everything man. It's our buddy Rich Hoffman. What's up, Rich?
What's up, man? It's good to be joining you, and it's an exciting time to be joining the Philly show. I will say, I am, as much as I enjoyed this Dodgers series, I'm excited for West Coast baseball to be over with after this weekend. I said this in the newsletter the other day, but for some reason in my brain, even though I'm an adult now, and you know the summer is the same as the rest of the year, for some reason, like, Dodgers, if they're playing the A's and the Giants, leave that to the summer months. Leave that from June to August. There's something in my brain that kind of just says, man, it's like a school night.
It's a school night. Yeah. I was going to use that exact phrase. It's a school night where I got to get ready. I got a big math test tomorrow.
Well, and I had a reader reach out to me, a newsletter reader, and said, do you remember the Boy Meets World episode where Corey sleeps late? And
okay.
Yeah, well, basically his dad, I think, it's like the 93 Phillies. They're playing a West Coast game, and his dad lets him stay up late, and then he fails the test the next day. So there are some life lessons in there or whatever. But yeah, I keep thinking back after getting that email to Corey and Alan Matthews. Now, the good news is they've rewarded us night owls for staying up over the past few days because, yeah, sure, Blake Snell completely shut them down in Game 3. But those first two games, I'm struggling to find the word to describe them. It was like triumphant stuff. It was amazing. Storybook, fun, just scrappy wins. And obviously, you know, you get the NL East on the first night. And on the second night, it should be the hangover game. It felt like the hangover game for 5 innings. But they get another huge win to the point where they basically have locked up the number 2 seed. 40
comeback victories they have now on the season. And I don't know how that stacks up against the rest of the league. That's just a number that I saw on Baseball Reference and thought was a pretty, you know, you see a round number like that, it becomes a little bit more impressive. But 40 comeback wins this year. And I think the stat they put up on the broadcast the other night was they are tied for the National League lead or in first in the National League lead since the All-Star break in comeback wins. Resilient, gutsy, you know, be a little less, I guess, PC. They're ballsy yeah. is how they win these games, right? And it's just kind of feels like there's been a bunch of them. And I talked about it on Wednesday. It wasn't just Monday night. It was the Mets game. The Mets game.
That last game of the Mets series.
The Brewers game again on Labor Day. The game against the Mariners with JT's big home run. Like, there's staple wins for this team that not just even last year, but a couple of months ago, we probably go, okay, and chalk it up, whatever. We'll see you tomorrow. And they've won a whole bunch of these games. And there's a reason as to why they are in prime position to be the 2 seed, a prime position to or have already clinched the National League East. Chance still to win the 1 seed, depending on what the Brewers do, and have the most sizable lead in baseball in their division. They've surpassed the Tigers for the largest lead in the division. Now, that's primarily a factor because the Mets aren't playing very well. Cleveland's starting to play a little bit better, sure. So they've shrunk the gap against Detroit. But a sizable lead to the point where this team has never clinched the National League East as early as they did this year in terms of date. Now, obviously, they started a little bit earlier. They started in late March this year. But I looked at it and I went, there is a chance that they have a larger division lead at the end of the season than the 2011 team did that won 100-plus games. Now, that's a benefactor that I think the Braves finished second that year, if I remember correctly. It might have been the Mets.
The Phillies knocked them out of the playoffs the last series.
But it was...
They shouldn't have, honestly.
It was they had a larger lead now than they did then, and that team won 100-plus games. This team's probably going to win 95, 96, somewhere in that range. And if you would have told me they were going to win 96 or 97 games 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, I told you were crazy because they felt like they were probably closer to 90, 91, which when you get up into that range, it's a pretty sizable difference.
It really felt like the Anchorman scene, that escalated quickly scene.
Sure
just
has.
Because, like you said, and you mentioned it on the last pod you did, getting the sweep of the Mets, okay, that's 8 games off your magic number,
right,
because you're getting the double whammy every night. Yeah, I mean, just some resilient baseball, and against a lot of good teams, too. Like beating the Brewers, who they are chasing right now,
sure,
in the National League, couple games back of them. Like, the Brewers never lose, man. And to win a series in Milwaukee, you get the game, like you said, I mean, that's probably the win of the year, in my opinion. The game where Taiwan is pitching on Labor Day. Now, look, as you mentioned, in the past 3 or 4 weeks, there are probably 4 or 5 other games. I was at that JT game against the Mariners, that Mets game when they came back from the early deficit when Luzardo was dominant after giving up the 4 runs in the first inning was, shouldn't say dominant, he was perfect after that. So been a lot of fun baseball. Just proud of these guys, honestly, because you have Wheeler go down. That's huge. You have Nola, who's just completely up and down. I will say, Aaron Nola, his timing was perfect. He's only given you one great start over like the year, basically, but it was exactly when you needed it to start the Mets series against Nolan McLean,
who was equally as good.
Very good. Phil scratch out 1 run against him. And so Aaron Nola, he gets shelled the next game against Kansas City, but it's like, it's fine. They had won 6 games already on that homestand. And there's football on. Who cares? No, his timing was great. But
Sunday NFL really plays into a getaway day type of game at this point.
And then, you have this Mets series where I remember we were in the studio that same Monday. I think I was the one who broke the news to you. Hey, yeah, by the way, Turner just isn't out. Bohm's going on the 10-day IL, which was a shock to everybody. So you have Trey Turner, who is going to get MVP votes, and Alec Bohm not playing for the last week and a half, and they just keep rolling.
And recently, too, you lose your super utility guy in Edmundo Sosa, kind of your everyday, everything man who does a little bit of everything. They have had a rash of injuries, not as extensive as losing Zach Wheeler for the year, but a hamstring and a shoulder and, whatever Edmundo Sosa's dealing with right now, I probably forget what he's dealing with, but they have had a rash of injuries this season, and they have seemingly not lost a beat. Bryson Stott has shifted over to short. He's continuing to swing the bat well. Weston Wilson has come up in some big spots. Otto Kemp has come up, and then Rafael Marchand the other night with the go-ahead home run in the 9th off Trinan. And then that doesn't include, by the way, probably the best of the auxiliary guys, which has been Harrison Bader.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's not an auxiliary.
He may not be anymore. You're right.
He might have graduated. Now, I do agree with you. He's playing way over his head, but I think you have to treat him as something close to a regular at this point.
Yeah, I would think so. All right, so it's the PHLY Phillies podcast. A happy Friday to you. We've made it to the end of another work week. The final 9 games of the regular season for the Phillies, and that one begins tonight against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Here's what's coming up on the PHLY Phillies podcast as we've riffed for the first couple of minutes. But we will take a look back at what this series was. They take 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers. That's huge for a multitude of reasons. We'll talk about the potential of this being a NLDS preview. In segment number 2, Rich and I have come up with 5 checklist points with 9 games left to play and what we need to see the Phillies do for the next 9 games to get themselves as 100% ready as they possibly can be for the NLDS. We'll also talk about Andrew Painter's season as it comes to an end, a tumultuous year in AAA for the highly touted prospect. And of course, we'll do the Cranking the Heat segment as we do each and every show. We'll take a look at the National League standings. That's all coming up on the PHLY Phillies podcast. But let's get into our big takeaway segment of the day, which is brought to you by our friends over at Xfinity. Xfinity, imagine that. The Phillies, as we made mention, have taken 2 out of 3 in what could potentially be an NLDS preview against the LA Dodgers. They win the first 2. Last night, they get shut out. Some good. I think a lot of good. Resiliency, as you brought up on Monday. Resiliency on Tuesday. And, yesterday, obviously, they get blanked. And got to tip the cap to Blake Snell.
Totally.
Really good.
I was making fun of him. He's a guy who, even when he's good, I find it ironic that he always gets viewed as the guy who was that? Kevin Cash was the Rays manager.
Yes.
Takes him out too early against the Dodgers in the World Series. And the Dodgers end up clinching in that game. I find it ironic because Blake Snell, even when he's winning Cy Young Awards, isn't exactly like Mr. 7 innings in a game. He takes a while to get guys out. He's run some deep counts. That's bothered me too, especially now. This is my Philadelphia homer. That's my Philadelphia homer cap talking because Zach Wheeler not winning a Cy Young Award. I'm gonna pick nits with literally every one of these guys who have their Cy Youngs. But credit to Blake Snell, it was the opposite of what he has been over the past few years, where he gives you 7 innings last night, and obviously he's very talented. He's got 4 awesome pitches, but he put on his big boy pants in the 7th inning, and he told Dave Roberts, "I am staying in the game." It's funny, they showed video afterwards of I think it was Vesio was coming in from the bullpen
halfway into the outfield.
He was halfway, and he just made a U-turn and went right back to the bullpen. And Blake Snell shut down the Phillies. That's a big game for the Dodgers too, because as much as we talk about the Dodgers and the Phillies, they might be on a collision course. I think that is clearly the Phillies' most likely opponent in the NLDS. They still got some work to do in the NL West, right?
The Padres aren't out of it.
No, they're only a couple games back, and they have a series against the Giants, the Dodgers too, as well. So they're not out of the woods yet. I think they're clearly the favorites to get there. But that was a big game for them, and Blake Snell was awesome. In fairness to the Phillies too, did they need that game? No, they did their work already, and that's often what you see in Major League Baseball. You get those 2 highly emotional games at the beginning of the series, a little bit of a letdown, and you also were facing an excellent pitcher. Tyler, I guess my question for you is, the Phillies have done well against the Dodgers over the past couple of years, including a 4-2 record now. That first series,
5-1 last year too.
5-1 last year as well. The Dodgers, obviously, they're the defending champs. They have a lot to be confident about. They have a much better rotation at this point of the year than they did last year when they won the World Series. How do you feel the Phillies match up against these guys if we take out the Phillies might be in their bullpen's head a little bit.
Sure.
It might be a little bit of the opposite of what the Mets had over the Phillies for a while, with those Mets hitters seemingly timing up all of the Phillies' very good bullpen pitchers. But, I guess compared to the rest of the teams in the National League, how do you think the Phillies stack up against this very talented
Dodgers
it's
an interesting question, and I'm glad you bring it up because it brings a tweet that I saw from Bob Nightingale this morning. He was tweeting about the game and said, the Phillies win the series against the Dodgers, but the Dodgers rotation dominated the Phillies lineup. The Phillies hit 0-54 with 24 strikeouts and 56 at-bats against the Dodgers rotation. That's objective. That's a fact, right? The Phillies did not handle the Dodgers starters all that well. And now you get a lot of help from that when one of the 3 starters throws 5 no-hit innings. And Blake Snell had, 10 strikeouts, 11 strikeouts, 12 strikeouts at the end of the day. Tip of the cap to the Dodgers starting rotation for what they did in neutralizing a good Phillies lineup that has been rolling over the last several weeks. But I look at it almost like that's not quite as ironic as when we saw that Chiefs tweet the other day where the Chiefs were like, well, we held the Eagles to the lowest offensive output since 2021. And every comment was Eagles fans like, you lost. You lost the football game. So this one a little bit different because I think, I don't want to say moral victories, but objective statistical victories, I think, play in a baseball series more than they do in an NFL game because NFL is just one game head-to-head, win or lose. Baseball, there can be more nuance to it. I think to answer your question, they struggled against that rotation. And that's a rotation that has a lot of injury, that has had a lot of injuries this year. Yamamoto's missed time, Sasaki's missed time, Glasnow's missed time, Snell has missed time.
Man.
And right now it feels like they're pitching well. And I don't know what the length of, the depth of a start will be for Ohtani, who only went 68 pitches, what the depth of a start will be for Snell, as you brought up, who's more of a 5-6 inning guy most of the time. But I think, if you're going up against a Snell, an Ohtani, a Yamamoto into a postseason series, sure, there's pause. No question about it. But to answer your question, how do they stack up? I said this the other day. When you go into the playoffs, every team is good. More times than not. On rare instances, you see the Marlins from 2 years ago where they got in and it was That's not a playoff team.
No, it's
and
not.
The Phillies dispatched them pretty quickly. But more times than not, you say this, the phrase of like, well, it's the playoffs, all teams are good. If that's the case, and it is true, then every other team has to look at the Phillies and go, well, I don't want to play them. They're red hot right now. They just dispatched of the Dodgers. They beat the Brewers 2 out of 3. They swept the Mariners. They swept the Mets. So the inverse, I look at it and say, yes, objectively, everything that we just talked about is true. And also, do the Dodgers want to play the Phillies? Do the Dodgers worry about their bullpen getting exposed because Trinan's not been good? Scott has been up and down this year. Vesey has been excellent. They've had some guys in the bullpen that have been really, really good, but the Phillies did a good job of getting after their bullpen this series. And I think some teams have done that this year. So it's not as superhero as of a team as we expected it to be. It's still a really good team, though.
I completely agree, and I think back to that Braves team in 2023. That's one of the best regular season offenses we've ever seen. And how did the Phillies win that series? They stepped up to the plate and they game planned the heck out of them. Their pitching staff, particularly their bullpen, I just thought was just excellent in how they attacked those Braves hitters. That's what they're going to have to do against the Dodgers. Now, the Dodgers also have a pretty darn good lineup as well. I mean, you mentioned all of those starting pitchers. I look at the Dodgers and I think, man, you got to get to that bullpen because I was not impressed with them. I thought Schwarber and Harper handled those lefties all series. That was a good sign. Like you said, Blake Trinan, I thought in that 9th inning when he gave up the home run to Marchand, I did not find that to be fluky. Like when the Phillies made 2 outs at the beginning of that inning, I was like, oh man, I think it was Otto Kemp who started the inning. I was like, he missed an absolute hanger.
Yes.
He was throwing, Trinan was throwing beach balls, and I don't think it was a mistake that Wes Wilson rifled one and he was a couple feet away from hitting a home run as well against him. But yeah, I mean, those Dodgers pitchers, you're going to have to make them work. And frankly, if you play them in a short series, you might have to make 2 of them work.
Sure.
Because, we didn't see Glass now. Sheehan, I'm sure, will probably be like a bullpen pitcher at some point. Did not see Yamamoto in this series either. So they do have some talent, and they do probably, as frustrating as it might have been for them on Tuesday night to take Ohtani out of the game. And you were absolutely right, by the way. They needed to pitch him one more game.
I would have flipped tables over.
Come on.
I am a big believer in take that kind of stuff up the clubhouse, have those arguments in the clubhouse, because we saw with the Astros when Framber basically put one into the chest of his catcher. You can't be showing your catcher up on the field like that. You have to do it just go up the tunnel and fight. And I don't mean physically fight, but I mean, if you want to go scream at each other, go up the tunnel and scream at each other. But if I were Shohei Ohtani, if I was any pitcher, really, even on a pitch count, his pitch count was 80, or pitch limit they said was 80. He was at 68 pitches, an average of just over 13 an inning. I would have been furious if I were him and I was throwing a no-hitter.
Completely. And the Phillies, they have a different approach where if you look at what the starters have done in terms of length, the Phillies starters, and this has been the case for a few years now, they have the most innings pitched in Major League Baseball by a mile.
A lot.
Even when they do not have their best stuff, they have the mental toughness to bear down. It's like, look, I'm going to get you 7 innings. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to give you a chance to get back in the game, which they did, and that was a great team win. But this Dodgers lineup has done pretty well against left-handed pitching. But clearly, the Phillies' best 3 guys are lefties. So what do you think about that side?
I think you have no choice. And I think that's one of my topics on our checklist that we're going to talk about in just a second. I don't think you have a choice right now. In a perfect world, and honestly, the thing is too, it doesn't even matter if Zach Wheeler were healthy, because I think Wheeler would have gotten game 1, right? Just because he's the ace of your staff, he's earned it, he's pitched really well, and you're still then going lefty, lefty, lefty after that, right? I guess you could chop it up to say righty, lefty, lefty, and then go back to Wheeler because of the days off in between. But you're right. The Dodgers have the 7th best batting average as a team against left-handed pitching. They have the 3rd best slug and the 3rd best OPS in all of baseball. Yeah. Only the Yankees and the Tigers have better slugging and OPS against left-handed pitching than the Dodgers do. They have a 98 OPS plus as a team. And by the way, they have 65 home runs against left-handed pitching. It's the 2nd most. It's tied with the Phillies, actually, for the 2nd most, which is amazing considering...
Kyle Schwarber.
Right, considering the fact your 2 power hitters are left-handed. But all of the metrics and all of the numbers tell you a lot of extra base hits against lefties. Good average. Now, this is a team, I will say, it's a team who collectively you can get to swing and miss a lot. But for a strange reason, they're like kind of middle of the pack against lefties. They swing and miss less against lefties than I think they do against righties. So, yeah, I mean, I think like it's something that you're going to have to think about is like your 3 best starters are left-handed pitchers, and they hit left-handed pitching very well. But I don't think you have a choice because they're your 3 best starters. Because if Aaron Nola were pitching well, you mix him in somewhere. If Zach Wheeler were available, at least you go righty, lefty, lefty, and you're able to do those things. I think all of those things just are not, they're not available, right? So I think you are just going to like kind of trudge forward and say these 3 guys have been a big reason as to why we got here. We trust them. I trust Sanchez implicitly. I trust Ranger a whole heck of a lot. And I trust Luzardo a really good bit.
Luzardo had those 3 crazy starts. Really just those 2 crazy starts in
20 earned runs
in May, the Brewers and the Blue Jays, where he just, I mean, your ERA is going to skyrocket in that regard.
Of course.
Yeah, he has been a lot better. So as long as he's avoiding that sort of blow up start, he's been a lot better.
Tyler Zulli, our special guest today is Rich Hoffman. We are broadcasting live from the Xfinity Lounge here at the PHLY studios. Again, on the other side, we're going to get into our checklist, what we're looking for in those final 9 games that begin tonight against the Diamondbacks. We'll talk about Andrew Painter's season in AAA, and we'll get into the standings in review in our Cranking the Heat segments. The PHLY Phillies podcast. We will be right back after this. All right, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, and find out why 90 million users worldwide have tuned in to Bet365, because they are the pioneers of live in-game betting, and you can live in-game bet across 78 different sports, and they live stream 780,000 events each and every year, so you're never going to miss a moment. And it's why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365. You can get in on all of the early payout action across Major League Baseball as the regular season unfolds. If your team is up by 5 runs at any point, your straight bets and parlays marked as winners will be instant payouts when your team goes up by 5 runs. Don't worry about a late inning heroics or any kind of comeback. You're going to get that win just by being up by 5 runs. And new users right now, all you have to do to get $300 in bonus bets is deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and you'll get those $300 in bonus bets when you use the promo code PHLY365. You can use those bonus bet money on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and so much more. And you find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Tyler, the other day, I was over at a buddy's place, and he's pumped to watch the Phils, but his setup, it was a total mess. Lagging, buffering, and switching between apps to find the game. He claimed he was a big fan, but I feel like I've been fan-fished. See, if you call yourself a baseball fan, you gotta have Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination. I can find the best games and my favorite teams all in one place, and the way that I watch, it's next level. It's the perfect fan flex. I've got all the action right in my living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K, so clear that it feels like I am at CBP. Sometimes I can even get 4 games at once, because why not? And on top of that, I get real-time notifications and live stats right there on my TV. It's the best seat in the house every time. So next game day, make sure that big fan is not a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K cable TV box.
All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli, Rich Hoffman, Ethan Hartley producing today's show. And it's time to get into our Cranking the Heat segment, which is brought to you by our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. Check them out at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project as we get closer and closer to the NL playoff push here, just a week or so away from the regular season ending. And as we normally do, we check in on the standings in the National League. The Brewers have clinched a playoff spot. They are currently, this thing falls on me one more time. They are currently the number 1 team in the National League. I'm just going to put it on my head. The Phillies, meanwhile, are the only team to have clinched a division in the National League at 91 and 62. And then, of course, the Dodgers right now, the 3 seed in the National League. But the teams that I want to talk about, Rich, are the 3rd seed, the 3rd wild card teams in the National League. The Mets, the Diamondbacks, the Reds, the Giants. All of those teams within 2 games of each other for the final wild card spot in the National League. And I got to ask you, man, like, does anybody want this wild card spot? These teams are all playing some really poor baseball over the last week. And we've seen individual teams make some runs. The Giants won 9 out of 10 at one point. The Diamondbacks have surfaced all the way to being the next team out, a game and a half back. But between the Mets, who have pretty much stunk since the All-Star break, the Diamondbacks, who have played sub-500 ball, injuries have really hampered them, but they're a game over 500. And the Reds and the Giants, who are at 500 at 76 and 76. Does anybody actually want this third wild card spot amongst these four teams? Because it sure seems like they don't.
It was very frustrating as the Phillies were beating up on the Mets last week, and it was clear that the Phillies were not going to have to sweat out the NL East title.
Right.
I was looking at the third wild card and just thinking, man, do any of these teams want to catch the Mets? The Phillies are burying these guys. Can somebody like step up and play 2 good weeks of baseball? And by the way, the answer is no. I mean, the Giants did play a couple of good weeks of baseball, but they were coming from so far back.
But it's to get them to 500.
Yeah, they were coming from so far back that they were going to run out of gas. The Reds are the ones that they actually, their pitching is good.
It's really good.
They frustrated the Phillies a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, probably a month ago at this point. I've just been frustrated by the fact that they can't get above a couple games above 500. And so the Phillies are in a weird spot this weekend, man, where they're going to play the Diamondbacks. And, you know, I would like the Phillies to win, obviously, because they're still chasing the Brewers, and there's value in getting that number 1 seed, potentially avoiding the Dodgers in the NLDS. But hey, if they lose to the Diamondbacks, all right, well, you know, the Mets, they'll be sweating it a little bit because that is the team closest to the Mets right now. It's really disappointing. I mean, the Mets, their starting pitching is just a disaster.
Yeah.
They are begging to be knocked out of the playoffs.
Did you see the number about the Mets the other day, too, by the way? The Mets brought a reliever in yesterday, and I apologize, I forget who it was, but they brought a reliever in who was their 46th pitcher of the season, which is a major league record. If it weren't the Mets, I'd almost feel bad for them, because to be in a playoff position, even as poorly as they've played, to have that many players on your active roster is kind of a testament to your good players. Like Juan Soto, by the way, is having a hell of a season, and the Mets may or may not make the playoffs. He's stealing bags. I know he started off slow, and Mets fans were like, the world was on fire, but he's playing really, really well. He's stealing bags, hitting home runs. He's doing his Juan Soto thing. Pete Alonso has had a good year, but like to go through the rash of pitchers that they've used and their starting rotation be give as little depth in games as they have, it's almost a credit to them to be 4 games over 500. But because it's the Mets, screw them. This last wild card spot's a mess.
Well, also, you had guys last year when they beat the Phillies, like Manaea, like Peterson, that they were just pitching over their heads last year.
I mean, even positionally, like Vientos was killing it coming into the playoffs.
Ridiculous. Jose Iglesias, who they have not. It's funny. I do see some Mets fans on Twitter. They want Iglesias back because they want like the magic.
Right.
He's been one of the worst players in baseball this year, which of course he would have been if he was on the Mets. But got
OMG.
Yeah, I know. Well, they had everything going for them, especially in September and October last year. Yeah, I mean, their starting pitching is they're so reliant on the 3 kids now. Where, you know, I know they went to a Manaea Holmes piggyback the other night.
Yes.
Look, those guys have not been good.
You're probably going to piggyback in the postseason. Yeah. Like, because if you can get 4-4, 3-3, I think that's like you get to the part of your bullpen that is the strength, which is Rogers and Diaz.
Well,
and Garrett, who's been not good as of late, but pitched well this season.
And they're going to go up against the Dodgers. And look, we all love this stupid sport. Anything can happen in a small sample size in October. They would be massive underdogs against the Dodgers.
Oh, for sure.
Massive.
Is 82 enough to be the final? So they have 78 right now, and the Dodgers
4 games above 500.
Yes. Is 82 or 83 enough to be the final wild card team this year? Like, is an 83-79 record, is that going to get it done?
I think so.
I think it might.
I think if they play 500, I don't know if any of these teams are gonna catch him. I mean, hey, if the Phillies want to do the Diamondbacks a favor and just lay down this weekend, then maybe they could get hot and catch them. Which is funny because the Diamondbacks, they would have some echoes of the Dodgers last year where they sold at the trade deadline and they actually make the postseason. Now it's a little easier to make the postseason when the bar is 83 games.
Well, and the funny thing is too, it feels low, and then you look at 2023, the year the Diamondbacks went to the World Series. 84 wins.
Yeah.
The Marlins that year, 84 wins. Last year in the National League, it was a little bit more, obviously, 93, 89, 89, because the Phillies won a ton. The Dodgers won a ton. And you had some really good teams like the Padres and the Mets who won 89 and 93 games. But the bar is so low to be the 6th seed, especially in the National League. The American League, a little bit different. But in the National League specifically this year, the bar is so low to be the 6th seed.
It felt like the bar was low when the Phillies snuck in. I used that verb, snuck in 2022. They won 87 games that year.
Sure.
They would be sailing to the number 6 seed right now. I mean, the Brewers were right on their heels. They would be sailing to the 6 seed. So you're absolutely right. Does anybody want this wild card spot? No. Is one of these teams going to get it? Yeah, I mean, mathematically, that's the way it works. So
I think and I will say this, just because of the fact that their offense can score in bunches, the Diamondbacks would be interesting because they've scored over 780 runs this year. They've also given up like 750, which has been their problem for the last 3 years
two
now.
Years,
you know,
especially
but
last year too.
They would be the interesting one just because like that's a team who can put a crooked number up on you, and you go, "Oh, down 5-0 in the blink of an eye." Now they might blow the lead, but you know that's the team that like offensively you would be like, okay, they could make some noise. But yeah, I think the Dodgers would be heavy favorites against all of these teams. And that's our Crank in the Heat segment, which is brought to you by our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. AceHardwareHomeServices.com to get started on your next project. On the other side, we are going to get into our checklist. We each came up with 5 checklist items heading into the final 9 games of the season, and they're not necessarily amendments for the Phillies to get better. They're just things like if we want to see them firing on all cylinders at 100%, these are some questions we're thinking about heading into the postseason. It's fringe guys, it's fun stuff, and we'll do it all on the other side. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365, broadcasting live from the Xfinity Lounge here at the PHLY studios, and we'll be right back after this.
The Ford Explorer, guys, America's all-time best-selling SUV, a legacy of family trust and performance. And I can say, my dad growing up, he had a Ford Explorer. We had that car for about 10 years. The Ford Explorer offers 3-row seating for up to 7 passengers, which is great for families and road trips. And it comes with a choice of 3 different powertrains, including a hybrid for better fuel economy. Guys, the Ford Explorer, they have all of the things you need for the modern driver. They have a sync infotainment system with a large touchscreen and voice command, as well as 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster that adds a high-tech feel to the driving experience. And look, in Philadelphia, we have some bad weather, so they have a terrain management system that lets you select drive modes like snow, sand, and tow all. Rear seat passengers get available captain chairs for extra comfort and accessibility, and it's built for families ready for adventures, a true do-it-all SUV. So guys, if you want to get that Ford Explorer, that car that you could have for 5-10 years, that your family could sort of grow up in, for more information, go visit your local Ford store.
Well, there's just 9 games left in the regular season, but that doesn't mean it's not a bad time to get tickets. And the only place to do it on the secondary market is with our friends over at Game Time, because they give the advantage back to you, the fan. You can, of course, see where your seats are going to be with every single location in every single stadium with the 3D seat map. You're not going to have to worry about, am I sitting behind the foul pole or behind an obstructed view? Or do I have a weird seat that angles into the outfield because the stadium's 100 years old? Looking at you, Fenway. And you can do all of that with the Game Time app because you're going to know exactly where your seats are before you buy them. And all of your fees are included up front. There's no back-end pricing changes as you add your credit card information in. You go, hold on, where'd these fees go? Don't worry about that with Game Time. You're going to see exactly what you're going to pay. And you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. And with Game Time, they give you the lowest price guarantee or will credit your account 110% of the difference. They also offer you incredible flexibility with ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets, especially MLB tickets, especially postseason tickets, with our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem the code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Tyler Zulli and Rich Hoffman here with us today, our PHLY newsletter, daily newsletter. By the way, check it out. If you haven't yet, it's free to subscribe. You get an incredible recap of everything that went on. Rich, I thought the other day, I think you're very witty, and I don't say that just because you're here. I think there's a lot of like snappy, witty moments in the newsletter baked into a lot of really good information. The other day, the Union was 1 bar. Yep, yes. That happened. Not a typo. I thought that was hysterical because I didn't see. That was just a night where I didn't get a chance to watch the game, and I checked in the next day and I went, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, they've had a really good season, and obviously we don't cover the Union quite as much as the other teams here. But I feel like they deserve to get some ink, and it's just like, they lost 7-0.
Nothing.
That's okay. They're still going to get the supporters shield, still in the driver's seat. But yeah, that was not a great night in Vancouver.
But yeah, if you have not signed up for the daily newsletter yet, I highly recommend it. All you have to do is send in your email, and you'll get a daily newsletter sent directly to your email each and every morning. And I usually get it. I read the email right as I'm kind of rolling out of bed. Sure. I have my coffee, and I
most
read the
people
newsletter.
do. We get the analytics on it. We get the time that most people read, 8 a.m. So look, if you guys just want something to catch you up, if you want something that's in depth and has most of the information that you need, it's there. It takes about 5 to 10 minutes to read. You can skim the sections too if you don't care about a couple of the teams. But as Tyler said, it's completely free. We'll have the info in the information below the YouTube video.
All right, so let's get into our checklist because you and I came up with 5 things that we're looking to see. And now, when we say that we're looking to see, I want to make it clear. I don't think we're not talking about shortcomings. We're not talking about, hey, in the next 9 games, the Phillies need to bolster their bullpen or figure out. That's not what we're trying to say. It's really just kind of, we were thinking about, when you're thinking about a team firing on all cylinders heading into the postseason, especially for a team that is very likely going to sit for a couple of days and almost a week by the time the NLDS rolls around, what are some of the key attributes, the key traits for this Phillies team to make a deep postseason run? So we came up with 5. Some of them are interchangeable, so we'll talk about those. And Rich, your top 5, I think, is a combination of things that you want to see on the field in order for this team to have success, and then a couple of things where it's like, this would be really cool to see. So here's Rich's top 5. And Rich, I'll let you kind of get through this list and discuss your top 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ethan's got that up there, and I'll just kind of roll through them right now after you put that up. Thank you, Ethan. All right, so the first one is they just got to get Trey Turner. I know Bohm as well, but Trey Turner, getting him back, getting him in a few games. Did you see, Tyler, there was actually some video of Trey Turner taking grounders yesterday at Citizens Bank Park while a Lumineers concert was setting up. So, they had all the concert equipment in the outfield. They had the stage in the outfield. They had, a bunch of chairs and stuff being set up on the in sort of right field, right side of the infield. But Trey Turner on the left side, getting some grounders in. I believe Rob Thompson said that he's gone with some full workouts already this week. Do I know exactly what that means? I don't know. But, grade 1 hamstring strain, it would be nice over these last 6 games. So not this Arizona series because he did not make the trip to the West Coast. It would be nice to see Trey get just a couple games, get his feet wet, because you don't look, if he can't go in that week, that's fine as well. You're going to throw him out there in game 1 of the NLDS regardless. But, playing sort of low pressure games against teams you should beat in Miami and Minnesota, I think it would be nice to get Trey back on the field. And it sort of sounds like the Phillies are optimistic that that's going to be the case.
Yeah, other than the fact that Rob Thompson, I think, gave us all a scare when he goes, I hate to tell you. And it's like, oh no, Rob. Because I read the quote. I didn't hear him say it. And I'm reading the first line, and it's, I hate to tell you. And it's like, Rob, don't do this to me. He's like, he's actually progressing better than we thought. And I'm like, you can't bury the lead like that. You can't be doing, you made me think he's going to miss another 4 weeks. But yes, I think the effectiveness of Trey Turner, I think, will not be dwindled at the plate in terms of I think his pitch selection's been substantially better. He's chasing less. I think he's just been that table setter at the top of the lineup.
It just was a bummer because when he left the lineup, he was scorching hot.
For sure. I think my one concern for Turner getting back into the lineup is how effective is he as a base runner? Yeah. Because
that's what we saw last year.
Right. He was really, really hampered. His stolen base numbers went way down. His first to third attempts went way down. How is he as a base runner? Because he's a catalyst. And when you have the ability, and that's why I think when this lineup is structured in a way that it is really, really sound, when you can go at the back end of your order where you go Bader, Marsh, Stott, and wrap it back around to Trey Turner, that's 4 straight guys who are plus base runners. And some of those guys plus base runners. And I think that creates havoc. And So I'm interested to see what he is as a base runner when he comes back. I trust him as a hitter. His defense has been excellent. Maybe that takes a small step back, but the growth and development that he's had this season compared to last as a defender is substantial. So even if he takes a small step back, he's still going to be better than he was a year ago. But getting Trey Turner healthy, I think, is paramount. Alec Boehm, like, I know a lot of people have been really excited about what Kemp's done recently. If Boehm is healthy, Boehm's going to be your starting third baseman.
Sure. I think just because Boehm is not the MVP vote getter, and Kemp has been very good in this like little small sample here for the Phillies, I think people are feeling that loss a little bit less. He was on the 10-day injured list initially when Rob mentioned that he kind of shocked everybody and was like, hey, he's gonna go on the injured list. He did say that hopefully they were going to get him back right after the 10 days were up.
Right.
He is on that West Coast trip. I think there's a chance we see him this weekend in Arizona because he is eligible to come off, but that is a big deal. Going back to Turner, you're absolutely right that the base running is the biggest concern, because I remember I was actually at the game when he, on the pass ball, he scored from second base and he got the grade 2 hamstring. You know, he makes that graceful slide into home and then he walks right into the dugout and then he doesn't come back. After 6 weeks, he comes back. And yeah, I would say for like a month or two, he just was not running the bases the same way. He just did not have that fluidity, and it bared out in the stolen base numbers too. I think he had, the stat was something like over like 2.5 months, he might have had like 7 steals or whatever. He hasn't this year, before September, he didn't have less than 5 steals in a month. So he was a weapon on the base pass, and also the most aesthetically pleasing base runner.
Oh, without question.
I've ever seen.
Just smooth and it's like fluid and everything just looks, there's no wasted motion when he's on the bases.
And I give him credit too. I mean, he's been an absolute monster this year, but when he's going bad, his pitch selection can drive me absolutely crazy. Man, he's been a joy to watch.
For sure.
He's cut down on that. But also, the base running is whenever he gets on base, it's like the most fun thing.
Oh, without question.
Going. Okay, so that's number one.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty obvious.
And I'm gonna say this now. That's my number one too. Get healthy, stay healthy. Like, that's a huge. If you're one of the healthiest teams, like, obviously no Zach Wheeler, we know that, but that's a known quantity.
That's gone.
So you can kind of maneuver around that. If you can get Turner healthy, if you can get Boehm back healthy, if Sosa comes back as your super guy, like your super utility, being relatively healthy at this time of the year is a difficult ask, playing this many games. And to say, like, other than, and I say other than, it's not just an other than, it's your ace of your staff. But other than Zach Wheeler missing the postseason, you're relatively healthy. And that's a huge get. And I think no need to even play like teaser. My number one is also get healthy.
Number 2. And I don't think this is actually number 2, but just because I have my mind on this Arizona series, we talked about how Rob, he shocked everybody with the Bueller news, with the Boehm news. He actually had a good joke yesterday. The Phillies are piggybacking.
He thinks he's slick.
The Phillies are piggybacking in tonight's game, Tyler.
Yep.
And the way he said it was, we have a Walker Bueller game going tonight, but not. Sorry, I accidentally hit the bell. Maybe I hit the bell for
bell notification.
Hit that bell notification for Rob Thompson, trying to get one past you. Anyway, they're going to start Taijuan Walker tonight in Arizona, and then Walker Bueller is going to come in after him and throw a few innings. What do you make of that? Do you think that's Walker Bueller maybe auditioning for a long relief sort of bullpen role in the playoffs?
I think so. I think because I think you're going to have, in the DS specifically, get to the CS, you need an extra starter. But I think you're going to have kind of this no man's land territory with Walker, with Bueller, and potentially with Aaron Nola, depending on how the NLDS shakes up.
Where do you put Nola?
I don't know. It's like I've been trying to because there's no planet where I think Rob Thompson makes the decision to leave him off the roster entirely, right? Like, they're loyal to him. He's their longest tenured Philly. I don't think that that's a feasible ask. But I also realize that Aaron Nola's first inning numbers this year have been bad. But so have Taijuan Walker's. And so when I look at that and I go, do your first inning numbers as a starter translate directly to your one inning out of the bullpen? And if they do, I don't know if I want you pitching one inning. You know what I mean? So I think there's going to be kind of this weird no man's land between those 3 guys who may all make the postseason roster. but I don't know in what capacity they're going to be used in NLDS specifically. Get to the CS 7 games, get to the World Series 7 games. You need as many arms as you can get, especially guys that can throw multiple innings. That's a benefit. But to be honest with you, I don't know what the other two are. But to your point with Buehler specifically, I think so. I think this is an opportunity to see how he works out of the. You saw obviously his last playoff appearance out of the bullpen. He got the final outs of the World Series. Do I expect him to do that? I don't. But do I expect him to be a viable option out of the bullpen? Yeah, I think perhaps.
Yeah, and maybe it would be in an Aaron Nola start, right? Because Aaron Nola, let's say that you do trust him to start a game. Maybe that's going to be in the CS if they get there. I don't with the NLDS being broken up with the rest days as it is. I think you just got to roll with your 3 best guys in that series. Now, what do they do with Nola on the roster in that series? I don't know. That's weird because he is not a very versatile pitcher in terms of starting bullpen. I do think there is a scenario where, okay, you get to the NLCS and you say, okay, Aaron, we're going to give you 3 innings, 4 if you're pitching great, 1 time through the order probably, and then maybe you go Buehler to try and get you to that bullpen, which I feel much better about over this last little stretch. Orion Kirkring's not trending in like an amazing direction, but David Robertson has been amazing. Don't pitch him 2 days in a row if you can. I think that is the clear lesson with D-Rob, where if you give him a day off, like he's going to be good. He's going to be good. This is still the first half of his season technically. So we'll see. I mean, this is probably a smaller issue and something that could be very important in a playoff series. Not as important as Trey Turner getting back, not as important as setting up your rotation, but will make tonight's game pretty interesting at least.
Yeah, I think so. I think it at least adds some intrigue into how many innings do these two guys get combined? What's the split? Like, is it 3-3? Is it 5-2? Like, what's the split look like? I think it'll be super intriguing.
All right, number 3. Number 3 is a little bit more fun, as you said. It's just something I would like to see. Oh, wait, sorry. I had this a little bit put around. Let's go to 4, though.
Okay.
Kyle Schwarber. Can you get to 58 home runs? Can you get to 59 home runs? Tyler, I looked at his pace strictly from, I didn't look at how many games Schwarber has played, but just from the season, doing the simple math. He is on pace for 56 home runs right now. 56. Can he get hot? Can he have one of those multi-home run games? I don't know. We'll see. But that is going to be like a fun thing. I mean, it would be especially fun too if they play the Marlins and he hits like 2 dingers in one game and then 1 the next night, and then it's on for the last few games.
Sure.
And frankly, Tyler, like maybe giving Schwarber a day off over the last week would be a good move, but they're going to play a bye week, or they're going to have a bye week probably as well. So he's going to have some time to rest and some time to just take some batting practice and sort of collect his thoughts. So I don't know. I would like to see him go for that record. He's going to need to get hot. And as we know, those homers, they come in bunches, right? One day you're hitting 4 against the Atlanta Braves, and then, you go cold for a couple weeks after it's over. So can he get hot against a couple of weaker teams at the end?
And by the way, there's a chance that we may see the first 4-player 50 home run season since 2001. So Aaron Judge has 48. He needs 2 more, obviously, to get to 50. Ohtani now has 51, Schwarber 53, Raleigh 56. The last time they did that, the league did that, was 2001. The year Barry Bonds broke the single-season record. Sammy Sosa was in the 60-plus. Luis Gonzalez, I think, was in the high 50s. There was somebody else in that mix as well. I forget who it was. But there were multiple. It was the last time we had 4 50-plus home run seasons. And somebody pointed out on Twitter.
Different era.
Somebody pointed out on Twitter, they were like, yeah, all those dudes were juicing.
Yes. Luis Gonzalez. I know Sammy got caught and a bunch of guys. Luis Gonzalez. That was I don't know. For some reason, that Diamondbacks team, it was just like, felt like they had like slap hitting second basemen that were rifling 400-foot home runs the opposite way. And we're kids at that point, so I didn't really think anything of it. Man, I was like, if I was like 25 years old watching this, I would have been like,
all I cared about that year was the Yankees not winning the World Series again. Sure. Like it could have literally been any. I think. And I'm a big, we got to hit a break in just a second. I'm a big proponent of like, I wouldn't have rooted for the Mets or the Braves, but like any other National League team, I probably would have rooted for in that series. Before we get to your next two, your final two, let's hit a break real quick. We've got some bills to pay. We'll get to your final two. I have a lot of similar, so we'll just kind of gloss over them on the other side, and then I'll get to the couple that are a little bit different. But it's the PHLY Phillies podcast. We're brought to you by our friends over at Bet365, and we will be right back after this. All right, let me tell you about our friends over at Parx Casino, because whether your favorite team wins or not, there's always another way to win with the BetParx online casino app. You can check out all of their brand new casino games like Huff and More Puff and Fireblaze Sky Queen, which is a BetParx exclusive. It's partially the reason why. There's a million reasons why. It's the only app that I would ever use to play all of my favorite casino games right in the palm of my hand. Now, I'm a blackjack player. I've told you that before. I love playing blackjack, but you can play blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and all of the online slots like Cash Eruption and 88 Fortunes. And how about this? Hot online slots based on your favorite streaming shows like The Walking Dead, Squid Game, Breaking Bad, and so much more. And if you're a new user, you can get up to $1,000 back in casino bonus bets if you are down in your first 24 hours. Head on over to betparx.com and download the app right now and enjoy all of the action and excitement from the casino right in your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play, you play to win, you bet with BetParx. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And guys, are you craving the perfect snack that satisfies your hunger and provides the right amount of protein to fulfill your body's needs? Well, we've got the solution for you, and it's Righteous Felon beef jerky and meat sticks. Righteous Felon traces its roots back to the hallways of Downingtown Middle School and was officially launched by lifelong friends in their apartment kitchen after college. As we said, this Exton, PA, Chester County, based company has been making all-natural, premium quality, better-for-you meat snacks for over a decade and has evolved into the region's preeminent jerky brand. It's very good. We have some in the office. The packaging is fun and engaging. The flavors bold and tantalizing. The texture tender and soft. And these are, without question, the best meat snacks around. The jerky and sticks are sold in favorite local retailers like Wawa when they're running two bags for a $10 best value you'll see anywhere deal on jerky right now. Giant, Costco, Royal Farms, and thousands of independent stores. And what's more, Righteous Felon helps fuel your Philly athletes by working with nutritionists of each local pro sports team to provide jerky and sticks for players to eat before and after workouts and as a refueling snack during the games. Now, if you're the kind of person who wants a deal and snacks delivered to your doorstep, you can order online at righteousfelon.com using discount code PHLY for 20% off. They have all kinds of cool variety packs and bundles on the site, so it's also the perfect gift for that special meat snack lover in your life. Again, that's discount code PHLY for 20% off your order on righteousfelon.com.
By the way, big thanks to Ethan Hartley for producing today's show, and a big thank you to you for hanging out with us here on this Friday afternoon. All right, Rich, you got a couple more on your checklist before we get to mine, and I think this one is one that is doable. Maybe won't happen, maybe will, but still within the realm of possibility, which is something that I don't know if I could have said a week and a half or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and that's catch Milwaukee for the number 1 seed, or try to catch Milwaukee for the number 1 seed, because, hey, it's going to take a little bit of help from them. The Brewers, I'm looking at their schedule. They have a harder schedule. They play the Reds, they play the Padres, and then 3 with the Cardinals. If I had to bet, the Phillies are not going to catch them because the Brewers have just been such a consistent regular season team so far this year. But if the Phillies take 2, man, I keep hitting that bell. If the Phillies, just keep hitting it. I don't know what to tell you guys. If they get 2 out of 3 this weekend in Arizona, I mean, those last 6 games are a joke, man. I understand that the Phillies, they're going with the 6-man rotation. You don't feel great about one half of that 6-man rotation, although they, as I'm saying that now, they've cut it down to 5 with the piggyback. But you don't feel great about the Ty Nola starts right now. That said, playing Miami with nothing to play for and playing with the Twins, who you traded with a couple months ago for Yohan Duran, and they've basically been like a AAA team.
You and I did the trade deadline show together. They traded 10 big league roster players at the trade deadline. I mean, that's almost half of your roster.
So I look at this and I say, look, it's probably not going to happen. But if Milwaukee falters and they play 500-ish baseball, could the Phillies sneak in there? The one issue with it, Tyler, is that Milwaukee does have the tiebreaker over the Phillies. So they actually have to get
really 3.5 back.
They have to get 1 game ahead of them. That's going to be tough to do. That said, Phillies, can you put up an 8-1 for us and make Milwaukee actually play above
Make them
500
sweat a little
baseball?
bit?
Yeah. So probably not going to happen. But like you said earlier, if it is going to be Cubs Padres on the other side of the bracket, having that 1 seed I think holds some value. I'm not saying the Phils have to go all out. You want to give JT a day off because he's been catching a million games.
Sure.
That's absolutely fine. But I
Do
think
we see Garrett Stubbs play at all outside of being a pinch runner?
no, not unless you get into like a wonky extra inning situation where maybe because it's funny the other night when Marchand hit the home run, Topper said after the game, usually JT would pinch hit in that situation, but he was ill. I wonder if that meant hungover.
He was ill. Sure, he was.
Yeah, he was hungover from the night before.
Just as much as I was from the brewery the other night. Right.
Sure, absolutely. In that case, then if you're trying to give JT the day off, but also trying to win the game, what you do is you pinch hit JT and then Stubbs is your catcher for the rest of the game.
Right.
I don't think you see Stubbs unless they don't have anything to play for.
Would tend to agree. Like if they've locked in their position, maybe he'll get a start behind the plate just because of like, thanks for being a good soldier type of thing.
Sure.
But I think if Real Muto is not playing, it'll be Marchand. All right, one final one on your checklist, which we talked a little bit about in the Dodgers preview series, which is to set the playoff rotation. And
yeah,
I think you're kind of...
I think we know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear to me that you go... I don't know how you do the second, the 2 and the 3, but
Sure.
Chris Sanchez, Rob Thompson is on record saying that he is going to be your number 1. No surprise there. He's been fantastic all year. He would be most teams' number 1. He would have been the Phillies' number 1 if Zach Wheeler was available. And then I think you probably... Do you go Ranger 2 and then Luzardo 3?
I think so. I think maybe it depends on what the outcome of game 1 is. If they lose game 1, I think I want Ranger on the mound in game 2. Just to have that cool, calm, collected, I trust this guy. If they win game 1 and have an opportunity to like Luzardo's ceiling, I think is so high that if they win game 1, like you could really pounce if he pitches well. But if they lose game 1, I think either way, I probably would start Ranger, but I think definitely if they lose game 1.
I think just leaning on that playoff experience as well. I trust Ranger to give me at least a decent playoff start. And in that 5-game series, the more I think about it, you'd rather have Ranger going twice, I think. And then, like, look, if you want to pitch Luzardo for a couple innings, maybe after Ranger just gets one turn through the order, I don't know. I think that's probably the way I would break it up. You're obviously just picking the starter because they're all left-handed at this point. But yeah, set it up and make sure everybody's rested and ready to go. Have full confidence that they'll do that.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. And I trust this rotation pretty implicitly. All right, let's get to my 5, a couple of similar ones, so we'll just run through them very quickly. Top of the one, again, get healthy. Get everybody healthy, and literally in periods to emphasize it, get everybody healthy. Number 2, lefty, lefty, lefty. That's your rotation. It kind of is what it is. Now, I will say the next 2, and then obviously you see Stay Loose and Sexy down at the bottom. And what I mean by that, I'll get to that first, because what I mean by that is this team feels like it's playing with a little bit of a spirit. It's playing with a little bit of a free flow. They're not playing on edge. They're not playing with like a big chip on their shoulder. They're just playing baseball, knowing that they're a good team. And when Brandon Marsh said, stay loose and sexy last year, it felt like that was a moniker that ran its course, and they were not playing that way at the end of the season.
No.
Now I feel like they're playing kind of loose. They're playing free-flowing, and this is a team that realizes it's good, but also realizes it has an opportunity at hand for a World Series window this season.
Said another way, just don't shut it down.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you guys have to go all out to win 97 games. Do what is smart. But like you said, Tyler, like in September, in late August, they had built such a big lead. It felt like they weren't limping to the finish line, but they were not playing at the level that you needed from them.
Right.
And then they get the week off. You're still going to get the week off, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of conversations about the bye. I think you want the bye. But, obviously the bats have gone cold for some teams, just like it happened to the Phillies last year. Okay, run through the finish line at least in the regular season.
Sure.
Take your well-earned bye. As the Dodgers showed last year, the bye is not some curse. You can win a World Series from that spot. You can take advantage of it. But at least for this last week, yeah, you're playing some bad teams. Go beat up on them.
Yep.
And you know what? I have full confidence that these guys are still going to do that because you're right. They're playing with a spirit, having some fun.
If you're watching on our streaming platforms, Roku, Samsung, Xfinity, whatever it might be, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Head on over to allphly.com to catch the rest of the show because we are officially in overtime. All right, Rich, let's get to the final two because, again, that last one's a little bit more just, that's a feel, that's a vibe thing. But these last two, I think 3 and 4, have some merit. Let's start with the final spot. I think the final roster spot, assuming everybody's healthy, probably comes down to Otto Kemp or Weston Wilson because I think Edmundo Sosa makes the team if he's healthy. Marshawn's going to be the backup catcher. They're going to go with the 4 outfielders that we expect, right? Kepler, Marsh, Bader, and Castellanos, and they'll move those guys around as necessary. I think the final positional player spot probably comes down to either Otto Kemp or Weston Wilson. Now, Otto Kemp 3 weeks ago, I would have said this is a pretty easy discussion. Weston Wilson gets the spot. The way that Otto Kemp has swung the bat over the last couple of weeks, I think maybe there's a shadow of a doubt. Now, I will say this. I think the final spot will go to Weston Wilson for a couple of different reasons. I think he is a little bit more of a power threat, especially against left-handed pitching. I also think in like the ultimate pinch, he can play more defensive positions.
Sure.
And I think that's probably the defining factor between these two guys. I would say Wilson probably takes the final spot. Do you think there's any chance it could be Otto Kemp, though?
So I guess the case for Otto Kemp would be against left-handed pitching.
Right.
He has been much better than Wes Wilson this year. Now, Wes Wilson in past years has kind of mashed lefty pitching.
Sure.
So, is that a small sample size for him? Weird year. He gets hurt in spring training, late start, gets sent down, all of those different things. I think it is going to be Wes Wilson, but the argument is that in a late game situation, if you need a righty bat to get a hit against the lefty, I think you could make the argument that should be Otto Kemp of those two. But for the reasons you said, I mean, Wes Wilson, the huge home run the other night, a little more of a power threat. But the bigger thing is that you could stick him in more positions in a pinch, right? And I think, Otto Kemp can play left field. I feel a little bit better with Wes Wilson out there.
Ken is relative. Has physical capability of
Kyle
being
Schwarber
out there.
can play left field too. He can,
Sure.
can actually get out there. I agree with you. I think it's probably going to be Wes Wilson. But Otto Kemp, especially that Mets series, he has done a nice job at least making this a discussion in a way that when he got sent down about a month ago, I did not think we would be having this discussion.
Neither elite defenders. I would say probably neither good defenders even. But I think you're right. I think a couple of weeks ago, this probably would have been a nothing conversation because Kemp was in AAA a couple weeks ago. So we'll see how that unfolds. The last one, you brought it up earlier in the show. I just broke my mic stand. You brought it up earlier in the show. The righties.
You're breaking the mic stand. I'm
ringing the
bell.
It's a Friday. The righties in the bullpen. Now, Orion Kerkering, I think numerically is having a very good year, but we know the conversation about inherited runners. We know the conversation about the last month or so. Maybe there feels like a little bit of I don't want to say he's pressing, but it does feel like he's pressing a little bit because of a couple bad outings. Thinking about the structure of the bullpen. Obviously, Joan Duran is going to be saved for save situations. He is your preeminent right-handed reliever. He's your best reliever, period. But if you think about the next righty down, if you're thinking about high-leverage situations, now that doesn't necessarily mean coming into the eighth or coming in after the other guy, but the guy that if you're trusting to get righties out and you need a couple of outs and you have to turn to a right-handed reliever, do you think Rob Thompson is going to turn more so to Orion Kerkering or more to David Robertson? Because I think at this point, even though you brought up maybe he doesn't pitch 2 days in a row and we can avoid that if possible, and he's 40 years old, I think Rob Thompson trusts David Robertson maybe just a little bit more than he trusts Orion Kerkering right now.
Yeah, I think Robertson, I know he's had a couple rough outings,
Sure.
but he misses more bats than Orion Kerkering does. He has that skill. That was, I do think, Tyler, Jamie was the one who did a live reaction pod when they signed David Robertson initially. And I think a lot of people at that point did not feel great about the Phillies bullpen. That was pre-Duran. We didn't know, how the roles would settle. And, the talking point for Robertson at that point was, okay, at least he just cost money. Thank you, John Middleton.
Sure.
But didn't know exactly what you were going to get from him. Yeah, he misses more bats. And I'm a little worried about Orion Kerkering. He just has these outings where he's not locating his fastball. And it's like, I don't know what to do with that. Now, David Robertson, that's been his issue too. Walks has been certainly been his issue as well.
And in a small sample size, he's at almost 11%. It is a high walk rate.
I think I might today. Now, could this change a little bit over the last couple of weeks if Kirk has a couple just dominant outings, and he's capable of it, because those 2 months where he was basically unhittable, he would just have these outings where he'd throw 11 pitches. Guys would have no idea what to do with that breaking ball.
Right.
They would have no idea what to do with that sweeper. So we'll see what happens. But I'm with you. I think Robertson, he just misses more bats, and I value that more in an October setting right now.
All right, well, that'll pretty much wrap up the PHLY Phillies podcast for us today. A big thank you to everybody who hung out with us in the chat. I hope you have an excellent weekend. Enjoy the Phillies and the Diamondbacks beginning tonight. Big thank you to Rich Hoffman for joining us today. Just looking for having a friend to talk to, and I really appreciate you being here with us. It was a treat to get to hang out with you for the hour.
Fun team to talk about, man. Really enjoyed it.
And the last person we need to thank is Ethan Hartley for producing today's show. Big thank you to Ethan for being a part of the show as well. Enjoy your weekend. Phillies and the Diamondbacks from that glorified gymnasium out in Arizona. And then the final week of the regular season, the Marlins and the Twins. And that's it. And then we get set for postseason ball coming up around the corner in just 2 weeks' time. We'll be back on Monday for the PHLY Phillies podcast at noon. Stick around. Philadelphia coming up next at 1:30 here on PHLY. And for the PHLY Phillies podcast, again, for Rich, for Ethan, myself, Tyler, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We'll talk to you at noon on Monday here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.